Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Guyanese Friends podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and I hope you're all having a fantastic day. And we have my friend, Yuvraj.
Hey, how you guys?
Thank you, Yuvraj, for coming today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We have our first of three parts of Guyanese cuisines. And these foods we will talk about are inspired by Great Britain and Guyana, with their names and pronunciations. With our first part being on breakfast in Guyana. If you have a low spice tolerance,
Then don't try it at all.
most of the foods we will have a fair amount of it in it.
Well, when we mean a fair amount, we mean a lot of spice.
Yes, we do. And without a further ado, we shall begin. Our first up is tea, specifically green tea. However, is considered to have originated in China. It's said that even today the word tea in China refers to only green tea and not the general category of tea as it is in the West. People in Guyana like tea better than coffee. They drink it in the morning. Most people in Guyana drink tea.
I personally like coffee better, but I still do drink tea once in a while because coffee is not really so healthy. But still, you have to at least separate from coffee.
Yeah, and I don't drink tea that often, but every once in a while I like my tea black with 2 spoons of brown sugar.
So, the second part is toast. The word came to us through the Middle English word toastin in the 12th century, the noun meaning bread that has been burnt with heat. In the Old French word toaster, meaning to roast or to grill, people in Guyana make toast for breakfast because it's easy and quick to make, and because we're always in a rush, as people in America already know our struggles.
Yes, I eat toast often for breakfast with some tea.
I always have toast in the morning before I go to school in Guyana.
Next up, we have a dish that is origins is in Guyana. It is egg bao. It is a hard-boiled egg in the middle of, wrapped around cassava, which is a type of rooted vegetable.
Yeah, it is.
Think potatoes, but
Yes.
more hard and sweeter to eat raw.
Yeah.
And it is boiled around. It is wrapped around the egg, and you boil the egg for like 12 to 15 minutes to get hard-boiled eggs. It is mostly always dyed yellow.
Well, that's mostly because when you boil it, like when you're making any fried stuff like a plantain,
Yes,
you always see it looks like white, but when you boil it, it's like
like a
yellow.
brown and
It's
black.
it's like a no, not like a brown and black, but like when you fry it, it's mostly a yellow color. That's
Yeah,
normally due to like when you're frying the egg ball, it will turn yellow.
and sometimes you would actually like dye it. You would dye it actually
Yeah.
yellow for the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually most commonly paired with sawa, which is a spicy sauce with a lot of hot pepper and mangoes.
That is spicy.
It is very popular in Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago. It has ripe mango and hot pepper. The spice level depends on who makes it. If you have a low spice tolerance, you can make it with just 1 week pepper.
Mm-hmm.
You will need to boil it for at least 20 to 30 minutes.
I like egg ball with sour but more, but the thing is I normally eat sour with plantain chips.
I eat this for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, surprisingly. I love it, and when you add sour, it's delicious. I highly recommend it for those of you who like spice and don't like spice. It's always a good time to eat it.
Well, for those of you who don't like spice, it'll make it better for you because at least it'll have like a little flavor to it. The
Yeah.
flavor is what makes it like better.
Yeah, and I actually want to tell you guys a story from my childhood. And these foods are actually sometimes, well, especially egg bal is used in religious work. No, not egg bal, sour.
Yeah, sour. So I can't remember most of the foods, but like as we were saying, like egg ball and plantain chips normally used with sour. I mean, I can't remember which religious foods have sour, but I do know some religious food has like sour with it.
Yeah, and it has a nice spicy kick, also some sourness and some sweetness
Yeah,
whilst you eat it.
yeah. It depends on who makes it.
Yeah, it does. And I usually use sour with pylori,
Mm.
seo. You have what else?
the same
Cassava ball.
the same cassava ball, but cassava itself can also be fried. You don't need to
Yes.
wrap it in anything, but it can also be fried, and it's also used with sour.
Yeah, and cassava you can actually eat it raw if you peel off the skin and
Wash
wash
it,
it.
wash it like thoroughly.
Yes, you can eat it raw because it's actually quite sweet and delicious. I'll be honest with you, if you don't think carrots, but better.
Yeah, I think carrots like potato stuff. While you uproot it, you don't really just put the whole carrot in your pot. You wash it. You peel off like the first layer of like dirt and like all the bumps and stuff of carrots and potato, and then you wash it again to get all the dirt away, and then you start using it. So same thing with the cassava, and then you would cut it into like thin strips and then fry it.
And you guys are gonna notice this theme coming back in the next two parts of our three-part series. Is that we're actually gonna have a lot of vegetables and fruits, because
Yeah,
Guyana is located in the Caribbean, South America,
which is actually a tropical country.
climate, yes, and which means agriculture is big. Even my house has a farm, so we will actually have farms of
If
of
you go, yeah,
cassavas. Yeah,
if you go like through the neighborhoods, you would see a lot of people have like gardens in their like backyard.
yeah,
When I actually had potatoes, tomatoes, lettuce, cabbage. And my dad liked to plant a lot, so he usually plant a lot, and he also planted a lot of flowers.
yeah. My grandfather actually has a farm behind our house. We have cassava, edo, plantain, pumpkin, squash, karela,
And yeah, a
a whole
lot.
bunch of vegetables.
It's mostly because it's a tropical island, you do still get rain, but sometimes the rain lasts for weeks.
Like 5 days in a row, and the trenches will overflow.
Yeah, the floods are like the houses are uneven. What I mean uneven, you would have like a low yard and the house is raised a little. As in like my house, when you walked in now the yard like lowers gradually and then the house is like raised up a bit.
Yeah, the land in Guyana is very fertile, but the thing is that flooding is a major issue.
Yeah.
And
And
if one pipe gets backed up,
y-
you could see a whole field, crops of ruin.
well, for us not a pipe, but mostly our sewage system.
Yeah,
But the thing is, for like 5 years, and this is no joke, my mom has kept our chairs on like drink boxes because whenever it rains nonstop, our house would flood and the water would go up to the chairs. And instead of us having to put the couches on the drinks box and take it off, it just stayed on drinks boxes for for like a long while because of it.
yeah, and well, my grandfather has a lot of. He has his farmland. He makes a lot of fruits, vegetables. We actually take those. We actually sell them for a profit.
Mm,
Guyana, you will see a lot of vendors selling fruits, vegetables, and really you have to bargain to get a good price.
it is true.
And for all of my vegan friends out there, Indian foods are mostly vegan because well, we don't have like that range of
Especially sour, actually. Sour, you don't have any meat in it at all.
yeah,
It's purely vegetarian. So there's no meat in it. So I mean for the vegans, you guys got something to try.
yeah. Guyanese food is heavily inspired by India with the Hindu religion, and basically that means is we actually have a whole bunch of vegetarian foods and meals. And I think if you're looking to go vegan,
Go to
I
Guyana.
have a yes. Go to Guyana, try your foods and love what you love. Take some recipes back home with you, and just enjoy your life.
I'm trying to remember some of the vegan foods. I can't remember that much.
Well, one vegan food is Edo curry. For those of my curry brothers out there, you like it, you know it, you'll love it.
There was another type of thing. I can't remember. I'm trying to
You'll
remember
also have
some.
pumpkin,
Yeah,
squash.
pumpkin. That was it.
Yeah, squash and stuff, but you can always put meat in there if you want, like preferably with pumpkin.
Pumpkin and squash you normally have like roti with because we
Yes,
in Guyana because like Guyana is like I think mostly Hindus are in Guyana.
yes,
So
high
like
population of Hindu.
yeah, so in Guyana because there's a high population of Hindu, like most of us eat our pumpkin and squash with like roti.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know what roti is actually think tortillas, but bigger and like more fluffy.
You know, like if you know what dal puri is, it's something similar to that, but it doesn't
Yes.
have kind of the same texture, but a little different.
Yeah, think of a soft shell tortilla, and like you like just rip piece of it and just use it as like your spoon.
Like a sponge, and it would soak up the curry, and then you just use it with your hands. Because
Yeah.
like roti with any curry, roti is just used with your hands only.
Yeah, and there are two types of roti that I know primarily is being used. Is oil roti, which is basically roti with oil that made with oil. And you also have sada roti, which actually has zero oil in it.
Yeah,
And it is commonly used in front of a fireside or like a campfire.
yeah.
It actually is more fluffy and soft like bread.
If you're wondering what a fireside is, it's like a stone kind of stove where we put firewood and like we use that. So we normally in big gatherings you would have a big fireside where they
Yeah.
would put big chunks of wood or like scrap wood that never got wet and they will never use for anything. You put it there and then you put your kahari
Curry, yeah.
tawa or any like sort of like big pots and pans on it and you cook on that.
For those of you who don't know what a kahari and tawa is, a kahari is basically a
Think of a
it,
pot, but it goes out.
yeah, think of like a wide power that's very deep and
It's
like say
deep.
like a half of a circle.
It's like yeah, half of a circle, but it's like a V-ish shape.
And a tawa is basically a thin sheet of metal in a circular form with a handle at the top.
Yeah, but the handle's also metal sometimes, so
Yeah, actually it's preferably metal because otherwise it'll get burnt.
yeah.
And also, you would actually have some actually yeah firesides. For those of you who actually know this, congrats to you actually know the right stuff. Is that food that is cooked with an open fire, basically like a fireside or barbecue, which always tastes good.
Yeah.
An open fire actually makes food taste way better instead of having it on a stovetop.
Yeah.
That's why you try more foods that are made like on the streets, like from an open fire.
Because
Tastes
you normally see
significantly
how they're
better.
cooking it and stuff like that. Because fire, like, primarily, like, in my backyard, we have a shed over our, like, fireside. So we normally have, like, a lot of scraps of wood. It's normally kept in the house away from the rain, like, in a high place. Like, again, my house floods.
Yeah,
So I keep it in somewhere where it can't get wet. And whenever it's like clear outside and we want to cook, we just normally take those scraps of wood and then burn it in the fireside, and then we start cooking. We would
yeah,
be grilling anything and everything.
yeah. And for those of you guys who love who loves fire cooked with an open fire. I mean, why am I saying fire? I mean, food cooked with an open fire. You actually know it tastes better. So I heavily advise any type of Indian dish you cook, try to get an open fire with it. Whether it be a barbecue grill, you
Yeah.
could try to get an open fire. That way you can get the most flavor out of it as possible.
The things about fireside is like you have a lot of safety rules with it as well. So you gotta make sure when you build it. Actually, I've never seen one built. The thing is, the one at my house, my grandfather from my mom, he built that one. But there's a lot of rules, so like you have to be careful. So one of the rules is like no children allowed. Obviously, it's an open fire,
Yes.
and knowing curious kids, they might want to touch the fire.
And you have open wood that's actually you have wood that's sticking out of the fire so which if they grab that, it's an
It's
automatic fire
yeah,
hazard.
it's so like most important rule is never have kids there. So that's the number one rule of a fireside safety. You never have it there. It's like basically the same thing as a, like a campfire safety kind of
Yeah.
thing. But mostly it's because like this one is a contained fire because like my own is like a whole stone around it. Think of the back walls and the side walls have stone, and you leave a little curve open at the front, and then do like a little straight line. The top has a hole where you would put so the fire can go through, and you would put like a grill there, and then you put the wood through like the side and the front. So
Yeah.
that's where that's how
And
you
you
do it.
said you actually didn't know how to make one. I actually watched someone make it once and I
Mhm.
actually remember the steps. It's actually made with mud, to be
Actually, I think
surprising.
I think that is true because like some like if for those of you who watch those people who build like houses and stuff on YouTube,
Yeah.
they use mud. That's like actual mud, not like concrete, because that is mud that
So
they're using.
Guyana had like a bunch of open up drainers, like not like concrete, they're like pure dirt. So they would take the mud from those drainers and also some cement. They would like
Like
form this base around a steel cage.
yeah, it's
And
like how you would do a building. You're like steel frame, and then you surround it with cement.
and then you have the mud around it. Also, The way you maintain a fireside, for those of you who actually have one and actually are curious why is it breaking apart, is that you need fresh mud and you actually rub it all over the
Yeah.
fireside. Inside of it, you don't do that because it's heated, but the outside you rub it firmly with mud. That way it keeps
Yeah.
its form and also structurally sound.
Even though Guyana is technically a tropical country, even though the fireside will crack, it's mostly because you have like high heats going on because it's plenty of wood and it's fire, it's burning, it's heating up the concrete
Also, you must remember you have iron,
inside it as well.
and also you have weight on top of it as you're cooking. You have water, meats, and all of that.
Yeah. So it's like you gotta be careful with those because I remember it's a tense heat, and if like because some tropical islands and like countries and stuff like that, when the breezes blow, like the wind blows, it's like really cold. So like sometimes when you say you just outed the fire, it would happen like that.
Yeah, and also not all firesides are made with that same format. The thing that I love about Guyana is its resourcefulness, because we're doing religious work with Hindus. We actually have big kaharis, and
A
the
lot
way,
of big like utensils.
yeah,
I
and actually,
actually used to help out in my manager's kitchen. What about you?
same here. I would actually help them stir the curry, and actually, we don't use spoons. We actually use paddles, thin paddles to actually stir up the curry and
Yeah.
rice.
You know, like a boat paddle? Imagine that, but for kitchen.
Imagine it more thin too. Also, Guyana is very resourceful, as in like firesides are sometimes just like thing. You know those big heavy cement trucks or like transport trucks.
Mhm.
The actual frame of the tire is actually cut open a piece, and you actually use it as a fireside.
Oh,
So that way, you can actually recycle some of those things to actually help cook.
that is interesting. Actually, because again, I never watched a fireside being built, so you have, so obviously you know more than I do.
I mean, I do have some experience, but I've never made one myself.
I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys for actually listening to us today. If you love this first part,
Please
check
tune
out,
in for the next two.
yes, and also check out our other episodes. I would really appreciate it. And that's all we have for today. Thank you guys again for coming. Thank you, Yuvraj.
You're welcome, and I hope you guys have a good day.
Yep. And I'm your host, Alex. This is Guyanese Friends signing off.
Bye.
Bye.